In the year 2000, a small startup with about 30 employees walked into a meeting room and offered to sell itself for $50 million. The company on the other side of that table said no, and would go on to regret it more than almost any business decision in corporate history. To understand why that no happened, you have to understand how much power the bigger company held at the time. This was a video rental giant with roughly 9,000 stores across the world, billions of dollars in annual revenue, and a business model so dominant it barely had competitors. A huge slice of its profit, reportedly several $100 million a year, came from something customers hated: late fees. If you kept a rental past its due date, you paid. That single revenue stream alone was bigger than most of its rivals' entire business. Across the country, a much smaller company had a different idea. Instead of forcing people to drive to a store, browse limited shelf space, and worry about late fees, why not mail DVDs directly to people's homes, let them keep the movie as long as they wanted and charge a flat monthly fee instead? No due dates, no late penalties, just a red envelope that showed up in your mailbox. It was a clever idea, but a fragile one. The young company was burning cash, unprofitable, and totally dependent on the postal system to deliver its product. So its founder did something bold. He flew out personally to pitch the video rental giant on a partnership. The offer was simple: buy us for $50 million and we'll run your online brand for you. You keep the stores. We build the internet side. By most accounts, the leadership in that room didn't take the pitch seriously. Reports from people familiar with the meeting described the executives as dismissive, even amused, as if a mail-order DVD company was proposing to buy an empire with pocket change. And in a narrow sense, they weren't wrong about the numbers. $50 million was nothing next to the giant's balance sheet. The mistake wasn't the math. It was the assumption underneath it, that a company built on physical stores and impulse late fees didn't need to worry about a niche mail order service run out of a converted warehouse. So the deal died, and both companies went their separate ways. For years, that looked like the right call. Store traffic stayed healthy. Late fees kept flowing in. The smaller company, meanwhile, was quietly doing something less glamorous, but far more important. It was building patience into its business, refining its subscription model, and waiting for the technology environment to shift underneath everyone's feet. And it did shift. Broadband internet got faster and cheaper. Streaming video, which had been clunky and unreliable, started to actually work. And the mail order company, which had spent years building logistics, data on viewing habits, and a loyal subscriber base, was perfectly positioned to pivot from red envelopes to a streaming app almost overnight. The bigger company noticed the shift late, and even then, didn't take it seriously. Years after that first rejected offer, one of the video rental giant's own CEOs would publicly describe the streaming upstart as a niche business, not a real threat to the core operation. That quote would be replayed constantly for the next decade, becoming shorthand for corporate blindness in business schools and business news alike. By the time the giant tried to respond, launching its own no-late fee program, experimenting with its own mail order service, even flirting with online streaming, it was years too late and burdened by a completely different cost structure. Thousands of physical leases, massive staffing costs, a supply chain built for shelves, not servers. Pivoting a 9,000-store empire is a much slower, much more expensive maneuver than pivoting a warehouse full of DVD envelopes. The financial crisis of 2008 didn't help. Consumer spending tightened. Store traffic that had once felt bulletproof started thinning out. By 2010, the video rental giant filed for bankruptcy. Thousands of stores closed their doors for good. Thousands of employees lost their jobs. The corporate entity that once had the leverage to buy its future biggest rival for spare change couldn't survive the decade that rival helped define. Today, that streaming company is worth several $100 billion. One of the most valuable media companies on the planet, streaming to hundreds of millions of households worldwide and effectively rewriting how the entire entertainment industry distributes content. So what actually went wrong in that boardroom back in 2000? It wasn't a lack of intelligence. It wasn't bad luck. It was a mismatch between how a company measures risk and how risk actually behaves. The video giant looked at $50 million and saw an insignificant number relative to its size. What it didn't see, what almost no one in that room could have seen, was that the real asset on the table wasn't the DVD's by-mail business as it existed that day. It was the option to control what came after it. The option to own the on-ramp to streaming before streaming became the entire industry. Big companies don't usually get destroyed by one bad decision. They get destroyed by a pattern of decisions that all made sense individually. Protect the current revenue stream, don't cannibalize what's working, dismiss the tiny competitor. Until one day, the small competitor isn't tiny anymore, and there's no amount of capital left that can buy back the time that was lost. It's also worth asking what the giant could have done differently, because the honest answer is uncomfortable. Taking the $50 million offer seriously would have meant admitting out loud in that boardroom that the company's entire late fee revenue model was a liability waiting to happen. No executive wants to be the one who tells the board that a core profit center, hundreds of millions of dollars a year, is actually a ticking time bomb. It's far easier, in the moment, to look at a scrappy founder with a laptop and see a nuisance instead of a warning. That's not a character flaw unique to one company's leadership. It's a pattern that shows up again and again across industries, whenever an incumbent's most profitable business line is also the thing a new technology is about to make obsolete. There's a second layer to this story that rarely gets told. The startup almost didn't survive long enough to get the last laugh. In its early years, it burned through cash at an alarming rate, laid off a meaningful share of its workforce during the dot-com crash, and came close to running out of money entirely before its subscription model found its footing. The founder wasn't a genius who saw the future clearly from day one. He was someone willing to keep iterating on a fragile idea long after a more risk-averse founder might have folded. That persistence, as much as the rejected acquisition offer, is a big part of why this story ended the way it did. That's really the lesson underneath this whole story. Size isn't the same thing as safety. The companies that get disrupted are almost never disrupted by surprise. They're disrupted by a threat they saw clearly and chose not to take seriously, because taking it seriously would have meant admitting their entire business model had an expiration date. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe to Data Studio. Every week, we break down one company's biggest decision, the one moment that quietly determined everything that came after it.